Tex-Mechs is a shooter game I thought I'd try, and when it loaded up I immediately was reminded of the Borderlands-style graphics that To The Core decided to use. From the loading screen it seems the game was made as a project, and from the credits it seems a fair few people were involved. I had a look at the controls for a starter, and the game offered me a tutorial anyway, so I decided to play it. I got a cutscene to begin with showing me a sign telling me I was in Texas, and then I was dropped into the tutorial. Immediately when trying out my mech, I realised the turning was pretty sensitive and a little blurry, but for me it was alright to deal with because I normally have my mouse sensitivity quite high anyway, and it wasn't too sickening provided I didn't decide to try breakdancing. The controls are pretty easy. It's WASD to move, 1 and 2 to toggle weapons, space to perform a forward dash or charge to cover gaps and squash bugs, Q to perform a stomp attack, R to reload as standard, and F to perform a scan of the area. The dash and stomp skills have cooldowns, but they take no more than about 4 seconds, and you can see them regenerate on your mech's dashboard. The movement itself seems to simulate how a mech would walk, so it's a little rocky, but also when you first move you start a bit slow and then seem to slide into a faster speed as you get momentum. It doesn't really affect the play too much, but it is noticeable. You shoot with both left and right mouse. On the topic of the weapons, when I saw weapon toggle with 1 and 2, I assumed that was quick slots, so one type of weapon in slot 1, the other in slot 2, and you flip-flop. But actually in this game, 1 controls your weapon choice for the left-hand side and 2 controls the choice for the right-hand side, so you can have a different weapon on each side and be firing both at the same time, which is actually a mechanic I'm a fan of. At first you only have revolvers that you pick up, which are 1 shot, 1 click, unless you hold down the mouse, then they fire off like machine guns. They are quick fire and quick to reload, so you can just mash M1 and M2 to obliterate things. The second weapons are flamethrowers, slower to start up, but good for general chaos and are helpful to keep waves of enemies at bay whilst you shoot stuff on the other side. The third weapon is exploding saw blades, which are incredibly effective but more precise, so you're only likely to catch a maximum of 2 enemies with one you throw. You're given objectives, which is mainly get to the signal tower. You work your way through the map and destroy the bugs to get where you want to go. There are 3 types of bugs. The red ones are standard enemies who attack with melee, the smaller flat ones on the floor explode when you try and kill them, and the yellow ones sit at a distance and shoot acid. You could say that each of the types of weapon is better for combating each different type of bug, and it seemed to be setting up that way, but I don't think it matters that much. If you hit them enough, they die to anything. You have health and ammo packs through the level, and some enemies drop health when you kill them as well. Ammo is plentiful, and I don't think there's a top limit cap of how much you can carry, since at one point I was carrying over 100 exploding saw blades just on one side. Because the weapons are independent, their ammunition consumption is also independent, so if you get low on pistol ammo on one side, you can just swap to the other side. I only had a minor concern about ammo at one point, but I still had a flamethrower and saw blade, so it wasn't like I was at a disadvantage. Otherwise, you just use what you've got to smash your way through the waves of bugs in the level, and I'm gonna be honest, it's fun. The game spawns bugs around you sometimes, so you have to stay on your toes and hit your stomp, which is fairly short range but very effective, and otherwise you just get to hail bullets until everything dies and bug carcasses ragdoll into the air like gross rockets. The area around the signal tower just turns into a massacre, but you have enough health hanging around not to worry too much about dying either. However, I got a little confused when I completed my mission of getting to the signal tower, because it cutscened and showed me a giant bug with his little bug minions coming, so I thought, cool, boss fight. Then it went to a to be continued, but again I wasn't worried because I'd just done the tutorial. Then the credits started playing, again I was a little unsure but went with it, then decided to play and said no to the tutorial, and got put back in the same level again but from a later point. That's right, it turns out the tutorial slips into the actual game without warning you, and the actual game is only that one level. Yes, at a certain point I did think to myself, this is a very long tutorial, and whilst I wasn't tracking time as I played, I saw afterwards that I did the whole thing in 25 minutes. 25 minutes is a very long tutorial, so it's feasible that that was the actual game, but even still it was kind of anticlimactic. I wanted more, which on one hand is testament to the game being good, but it was kind of a shame. I do have a couple of things to nitpick with the game, one being the stomp animation. Minor, I know, but considering they took the time to try and give a feel of the mech moving like a mech might, The stomp animation feels like the mech stands on 2 feet and performs the world's shortest, fastest imitation of a squat in order to produce the force to knock everything down. Yes, it does you a favour that the stomp is very quick to take effect, but a split second to make it feel like the mech has actually lifted a leg or jumped to stomp would complement the whole feeling of driving a mech. There's a weird thing with the audio when you use the flamethrower on a bug nest. For some reason it just gets really loud and grating until it's destroyed. It doesn't happen in any other circumstance. I guess the game just doesn't like the bug's nests. And really, the only big flaw with the game is that it's really short. But there are plenty of good things in the mix. Bright, colourful visuals, good sound effects and satisfying explosions, attention to detail in the mech's feel of movement, a good variety of combat options, the dual wield option allowing you to mix weapons is a nice feature, and the overlaying crosshair types makes it really simple to wield. The exploding bugs can actually be used to your advantage. Since they explode on death, they can actually kill other bugs, and if another exploding bug is nearby, you can wipe out a whole chunk of enemies with a chain reaction. It facilitates chaos very well, allowing for a fast-paced and fun experience. The lack of content, I believe, is purposeful, since Southern Methodist University Guildhall does games design, and funnily enough, it's actually in Texas, so I'm pretty confident this was a student project, and so we'll probably never get more content, as it was probably never intended to be that long of a game. So, what's my verdict? Well, there's a lot good about it, but in terms of killing time and being a game to commit to, sadly it falls a little short. If you need something to kill half an hour, or you feel like destroying things, Tex-Mechs is a pretty solid game to do that with. So I will give it a 7 out of 10.